quarterback start of the week. Let's get it going here. Jalen Hurts, he's back on it. Coming off of a fantastic performance against the Washington Commanders, I think that the Eagles offense is starting to improve week in and week out. A.J. Brown, that connection starting to become strong. And talk about DeAndre Swift being a factor in this Philadelphia offense. He's starting to do really good things. And going up to the matchup on the road against the Los Angeles Rams, and I can't really figure out this Rams defense. In week one against Seattle, they looked pretty good. And then last week they had, a 27-0 lead against Indianapolis Colts. Ended up blowing that. They ended up getting that, all thanks to Puka. But I just can't really figure out this defense. So I think that this Philadelphia Eagles offense, coming off of an impressive performance against a very talented Washington Commanders defense, Jalen Hurts, they're going to do their little play where Jalen Hurts gets down there to the 1 yard line. They're going to do the Philly push, and he's going to score probably 2 touchdowns. And Philadelphia is probably going to win in a shootout. So I think the way that this Philadelphia offense has been cooking lately, it's hard not to sit Jalen Hurts. So I think that he's a full-on go for this Philadelphia team that's looking to stay undefeated. All right, let's go on now to the running back start of the week. It's a rookie, and it is Bijan Robinson. I have been high on this man since day one in the offseason. As soon as the Atlanta Falcons took him at pick number 8, I knew that he was going to be special. And he had an okay game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars defense really just stymied this Falcons offense. It's definitely interesting for this Falcons offense. Desmond Ridder has been struggling. Bijan Robinson, he had a slow start to the season. In week number 1, Tyler Algier had most of the carries of, but now that is starting to shift. Atlanta and Bijan had 14 carries, 105 yards. That was good for 19 fantasy points if you are playing in PPR. And looking at the Falcons this week, they host the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans defense is one of those defenses that we always like to pick up. But I think that the Texans defense is definitely getting better. But where they are lacking is their rush defense. I do think that Bijan Robinson, if you're looking especially at PPR, he's going to give you points in that rushing department and also in the receiving game too. So I think the way that Bijan's been playing, he's been one of the most consistent fantasy running backs. And running backs have been a problem for a lot of people in fantasy, whether you lost Nick Chubb or Austin Eckler. He hasn't been playing. So if you have a little hole, I think that Bijan Robinson is your start this week in the running back department. Let's go on now to the wide receiver star of the week. We talked about Buffalo, and we are going to continue to start the man, Stephon Diggs, coming off of a really good performance, 120 yards and 3 touchdowns against Miami defense. That has really been disappointing with how much talent that defense has. Stephon Diggs in this offense just continues to be good. This is across the pond once again, hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars in Tottenham Stadium. So definitely going to be an offensive slugfest. But I think the way you're coming off a performance, you're feeling really good about the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, but it was Atlanta offense that hasn't really been too good. So I think that you just got to roll the momentum. I think that Josh Allen is playing like MVP. Stephon Diggs is looking like one of the best fantasy wide receivers to get. Coming off of a 37 points, he's projected 17.7. Would not shock me if he gets over that. I think that he definitely finds the end zone. That Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen connection is really good, especially, even going up against a talented Jaguars secondary. You really have to trust Stephon Diggs this week heading into week number 5. All right, let's get into some of the negatives. Let's get into the sits of the week, starting with the quarterbacks of the week. I did have some bold ones. Lamar Jackson sitting did not work out for me, but we are going to go with another quarterback, go to the NFC East, Dak Prescott. This is going to be a game that I just don't think that there's going to be many points scored. It's Brock Purdy versus Dak Prescott. Probably wouldn't start either, but definitely wouldn't start Dak Prescott. I definitely think that this is a San Francisco 49ers defense that you don't want to mess with. Josh Dobbs, he had 2 touchdowns against this defense, but I just think that Dak Prescott going on the road to San Francisco, I think that this is going to be a tough environment for Dak in this offense to really generate a lot of offense. So coming off of a so-so performance against the Patriots defense, they didn't really have to rely too heavily on Dak Prescott's arm. But I think that Dak Prescott is one of the quarterbacks you just want to stash on the bench and wait for a better matchup in the coming weeks. All right, let's go on now to the running back sit of the week. It is Ramondre Stevenson, and this is just an ugly matchup. I don't really want to touch anybody in this matchup. This is probably going to be one of the more lower scoring matchups. Right now, the under is set at 39. Wouldn't surprise me if it went under that. Both of these offenses just absolute stink right now. Looking at the Saints offense, they can't really generate much. The Patriots with Mac Jones is pretty much the same. And looking at Ramondre Stevenson, this backfield is definitely a running back by committee. Ezekiel Elliott saw a lot of carries against Dallas. Ramondre had his fair share, but it wasn't really a good game. He had 14 carries, 30 yards. That's just not what we want to look for, especially if you have him as your RB1 or RB2. Going up against the Saints rush defense, that is one of the best in the league. Rachaad White, he had a so-so game. I think that Ramondre Stevenson is probably going to have similar stats to you see there on the screen. So I'm sitting the Patriots, and honestly, Alvin Kamara too. I just don't feel safe playing Kamara either. So sit whoever running back is playing in this matchup, but I'll go with Stevenson. We're going to continue going after that matchup. We're going to sit Michael Thomas, and also you can add Rashid Shaheed to this list. I just have no faith in the New Orleans Saints offense right now. It's coming off of a performance, only scored 9 points. It gets tough. Patriots defense. I think that the Patriots defense is dealing with injury. Matthew Judon did get banged up. We'll see if he's able to play in this one. But without Judon, I think that this Patriots defense is going to be motivated. The Cowboys had their way. I think that, Michael Thomas coming off of a game where he only had 4 catches for 53 yards. Derek Carr, he has an injury. I think that the injury is definitely affecting him, but the Saints offense isn't clicking. So I just don't think that he can reach that projected total. If he does, I just don't think. If you have other options, I would just feel safer. I just don't want to touch anybody in this Saints versus Patriots matchup, as it's going to be an offensive snooze fest. So that is the wide receiver sit of the week, and also the starts and the sits heading into week number 5.